All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the NFL, or the Degenerate NFL podcast. And we were going to talk about the NFC West, and we're going to talk about the NFC West. However, there's some bigger news going on right
Yeah.
now. I mean, how can we not talk about the rivalry jerseys, Casey? The rivalry
Yeah.
jerseys for the NFC
You
West.
even got me. You even
How
got
could,
me on
how,
that. I was
how
like,
could how could we not talk about that? No, we will. They're fine. I think they're kind of bad, but that's beside the
yeah.
point. Uh, Jerry Jones did it, man. He did the thing. He did the thing that we all just assumed he would do. We thought he was going
Yeah.
to do the other Jerry Jones thing, which is you'd pay your guy like 5 months too late and end up paying him like $8 million more a year. No, they didn't even do that. They're like, you know what? We don't want him. Get him out of here. You didn't want to handle your deal without your agent and just take the deal we wanted to give you. Tough luck, bud. Get out of here. What are we
He,
doing?
I mean, he didn't even give him the courteous old Jerry Jones way of doing things of signing the night before a season. He gave him, what is this, a week out the season? He's like, getting him out of here. And in the division, I just don't understand. Like, not, obviously, it's not like
Conference,
it,
yeah.
yeah, not conference or like in the NFC. Like, what are you doing? Like, how many times have the Packers and Cowboys met up in the playoffs or had some key games? Like, it's just a tales of the time. Like, Packers Cowboys classic matchup, and then you're just going to trade away one of your best guys, if not the best guy on your roster.
I again, and you get 2 first-round picks, which great. Maybe one of them will be 70% as good as Micah Parsons is. You
Yeah,
hope. And then Kenny Clark, who, when healthy, a good player, but 30 and not good last year, really, for the most part. And he was apparently banged up. What if he's banged up again?
yeah,
Like, yeah, he might help your run defense, except for the fact that when you stop the run on third down, the other team is going to be able to throw for whatever amount of yards they want to, because Michael Parsons isn't on your team anymore, Jerry.
yeah.
I don't like. What is the point of this? I simply don't. Why did you trade for George Pickens? By the way, now that we're talking
Yeah.
about it, why load up at receiver with him and Lamb if you aren't going to be able to stop anyone from doing anything? I don't. Dak is going to have to throw for 6,000 yards this year for them to win like 9 games. I simply don't know what's going on here. And like, you could sit here and try to make the argument of like, well, he didn't want to be there anymore. It's because you're an idiot.
He would have
You did it
signed.
2 years. He literally would have signed
Yeah,
after his third year, which is when you should sign players like this, because they're going to reset the market when they sign. You sign them as early as you physically can. You go to the bank. You're like, hey, listen, there's this guy. He's good. Give me $150 million to guarantee this guy. And then you go home and you give him the money. This is not hard. This is not rocket science. You've been in the NFL in some capacity for 40 freaking years, it feels like. You know this stuff. And instead, he's like, yeah, you know what? We don't need him. Maybe we can use those picks to get somebody important. It's like, did you just
you had the important guy.
did you just make the assumption that you might trade these
Yeah,
picks again, but for a different, like, what are you talking about? It's really frustrating, honestly. And it's
yeah.
even as a fan of a team, that wouldn't do this type of thing anyway, and like wouldn't trade for or trade away this type of player. I just can't fathom being a Cowboys fan right now. Like, it's already been bad enough because everyone always has expectations for you, even though your team never does anything. Now they didn't even try to do anything. They're just trading
No.
away one of the best players, especially to start their career, maybe in Cowboys history, realistically. And now he's not on your team anymore.
Yeah, and he was doing the whole thing where it was like he was walking out the door looking over his shoulder like, I wish someone would sign me. Is there a team that I've been playing with my whole NFL career that would sign me? And they were just like, nope, see you, man. Like,
And like, the latest report was that like they went and wanted like to talk about contract, and they basically said play on the 5th-year option or leave.
yeah,
What are you talking about?
that's Jerry, dude. That is all on Jerry. Like,
Micah Parsons better get like, and I hope this doesn't happen. Like, I'm just gonna preface this: he better get like suspended forever if this, or else this deal is horrendous in every
yeah,
way possible. It doesn't matter what happens from this point on. The process in which you get here to have a player in his mid-20s who has done something that only Reggie White has ever done, which is start their career with 4 straight 12-sack seasons, and he's been banged up at times during that time as well. No one has ever done that except for Reggie White. And you want to tell me that you're going to trade that player away for anything less than the Hall of all halls? This isn't even like the Herschel Walker trade. Like that, of course, made a ton of sense because it was running back even in that time period.
Yeah.
He didn't even get close to what they got for him back in the day, and it's because teams aren't stupid enough to do that anymore.
They
But
play in week 4, Packers and Cowboys.
I wonder
That's
how that's
just
going to go.
yeah, that is even crazier to me that it's like it's just a few weeks out. You're going to see him in less than a month.
Dak's going to get sacked by him and look up at the suite and
Yeah.
flip Jerry off. That's what I want to see happen. I want him to get the
Yeah.
double finger to Jerry Jones from the field. Like do the Earl Thomas thing where he flips him off as he's leaving the field. I want that to happen in week 4. Like that's what needs to happen, and the world will be right again, I think. Like we need the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys to openly basically cuss at the owner, and then things will be okay again.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So
I mean, I don't know how he felt any better waking up today for that news.
Again, when we talk about the NFC North next week before the season starts, we'll talk more about what it means for the Packers. But had to start the show off with that. Obviously, what an insane situation to have happened. I simply don't get it. And people were all up in arms about Myles Garrett maybe being traded. At least for the Browns, it kind of made sense because the guy's going to be 30.
Yeah,
and probably could have gotten probably 2 first-round picks for him. I would have understood. They're not winning anything with him.
Yeah.
The Cowboys had a down year last year, but they're the Cowboys. They're never supposed to be out of it, truly. And Jared's like, what if we're out of it? What if we just quit right now? Pretty much.
Yeah, and this move really, for Cowboys fans, just cemented that the next 10 years is going to be the same as the last 10 years has been. Just a half-ass, all-in mentality, Super Bowl or bust, but they just can't make the right moves, or they can't Jerry can't get out of his own way.
A team that drafts this well, that is for a team that's drafted as well, they have the last 10 years, there's no reason you shouldn't be really good all the time. And you could say when they went 12-5 for 3 straight years with McCarthy, they were good, but they weren't really good because then they went to the playoffs, and you know this very well, Casey, couldn't do a damn thing against anyone in any of those playoff games.
No.
It didn't matter because you draft all these great players, but then half of them would leave because you weren't willing to sign them at the right time, and they'd get too expensive, and you have to move on. But you had to pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year when no one, still since that contract is signed, no one has touched that money per year yet. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It's not supposed to work that way. You're supposed to get paid and then lose, and then you know it too.
Yeah, I know that's eating Jerry up every night. That his contract still hasn't been.
Because why would it? Why would they need to go that much higher than it was? Why? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on talking about the NFC West with Casey here. He is a 49ers fan. I'm sure he'll have plenty to say. Yeah, he'll have plenty to say about this team who did not have the best season in the world last year for a multitude of reasons, mostly injuries among other things, but looking to bounce back this year. We'll see how we kind of feel about them. This is a division, and if you look at the title of this video, that I don't think has any bad teams, but I don't know how many of them are good. That's the issue. We're going to talk about that throughout this episode. Let's talk about the Niners first here. The only major coaching change that I would say is going to be the return of Robert Saleh, which should be a boon for this defense that has a lot of new faces on it and does kind of need to find a new mentality, I would say, in general. And they're definitely tried to do so. We'll talk about their moves that they made there on defense specifically. But Casey, how do you feel about Saleh being back after his failed run with the Jets, where really it was a failed run, but he never really had a shot, to be honest with you. You got paired with Zach Wilson almost immediately.
Yeah.
Let's be real, good defensive coach, but never had a chance in New York.
Yeah, and like you just said, Zach Wilson, when that was who he was going to have as his starting guy, I instantly preseason week 1 saw him on the sidelines and was like, just come on home, bro. Mm-hmm. Just come back. I'm all about. I love Saleh, and I wish it would have been successful for him, but I am giddy that he's back. This is some of the best news we've got coaching wise in a while after the past few years of just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks and trying to give big names from the past a resurgence in their careers, and it just not working out. So I'm excited Saleh's back. A little bit of movement on the offensive side as well. We got Clay Kubiak promoted to the offense coordinator, but it's a fake it's kind of like being vice president. Like, it's a cool title, but like in the Niners organization, it doesn't mean anything because Shanahan's going to be all over the play call sheet, telling exactly what's happening on that offense.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird being an offensive coordinator for an offensive head coach because sometimes your responsibilities are pretty heavy because sometimes they do want to take some of the load off of their plate and they do want to take some of the play calling stuff even away a little bit. We've seen that with like Dable, with Kafka as the offensive coordinator with the Giants. Like, he's taken a lot of responsibility on, but with the Niners, it's all about Shanahan and his scheme, right? Like, we know that. So, and it's another Kubiak. Who would have guessed that?
Yeah.
You know, good old NFL nepotism.
Yeah.
It seems to work okay, to be fair, but still, you know, it's something to mention there for sure. Speaking of the offense, let's talk about some of the offensive moves that this team, in terms of lost, added, all that good stuff. So lose a couple interesting names on offense. Jordan Mason, for sure, I think is one that you have to talk about. Deebo Samuel as well is probably the two that I would look at and go, okay, those are moves and losses that I'm curious how they're going to work out, because with Jordan Mason in particular going to the Vikings in a trade, I think it was ultimately.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey's health is huge for this team in general.
It is.
Right? And more importantly, if he is going to be healthy, right, if he's not going to play the whole season for one reason or another, Jordan Mason was a very valuable backup, but he also dealt admittedly with injuries last year. So it's like, how much of that do you feel like is worth keeping around? I don't know. They ultimately decide that they're going to move on. Deebo Samuel, same kind of deal. A lot of injuries, a lot of issues, a lot of wear and tear as this pseudo running back receiver situation. I think he has a little bit left, but I do think it's fair that this team didn't want to pay him, $20 million a year to be the version of himself that he was last year.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest part of it is they use him so much that his body is just breaking down. I think that he still has some good years in him, but his contract, the longevity of his contract and being able to keep him on the team just didn't make sense, especially if they're going to have to start making some moves with some guys leaving, like Trent Williams here soon. Like, Kittle's probably doesn't have, like, they're going to have to start looking at the future. So, like, you might not need to look at a year or two and down the road, but like 5 years from now, like, these contracts still sit around at times. So it's like, you got to think about it. Like, are you going to be able to trade this guy 5 years down the road and get something out of the contract? Or are you just going to have to eat it and then also try to sign someone else? So
that's the question.
Yeah. So losing them on offense, it hurt, especially at the running back position for the Niners. That is always a key sore subject in their injury list. I know that it's the NFL, every team deals with injuries, but it seems like every year the Niners, Christian McCaffrey will go down, and then Jordan Mason goes down, then Isaac Guerrero goes down, and then you hear about some random guy that you've never heard of, and then all of a sudden he's running for 100. He's running 150 yards, 3 touchdowns a game. You're like, what the hell? And then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And then you just start the cycle all over again. So it sucks to lose Mason, but I get it. At the same time, like, I don't know. It's
tough. It's tough with them. Another notable name, really two that got paid this offseason, actually. Aaron Banks, guard for the Packers. I thought it was about twice as much money as I'd pay Aaron Banks. So, to be fair to the Niners there, I don't blame them for not, trying to retain him. And then Jalen Moore gets a nice little 2-year, $30 million deal with the Chiefs, mostly as insurance in case they didn't end up with a tackle. They do in the draft. We'll talk about the Chiefs tomorrow. But still a good contract for especially Banks, but Moore as well got a nice little payday for what he showed instead of Trent Williams. So,
the offensive line was losing. I wanted to keep Banks, but not worth it at that.
Not that much money. No.
Yeah, so, and I was really shocked. I know we'll probably talk about the draft here in a little bit, but like, we didn't attack the offensive line in the draft either, which I thought we would because I think we were like 10th or 11th pick. Was our first round.
11th pick,
Yeah, and I was like, for sure there's plenty of tackles on the board, guards that we could go after. Didn't even sniff it. So we'll see what happens. We still got Trent Williams. So you can't be mad about that.
No, still a good player. Still one of the better players in the league, especially as a run blocker. pass protector, he's always been very, very good, if not elite. But as he's getting up there, 38 now, I believe it is,
Yeah.
Casey. Tackles can play a long time, especially the best ones, but you never know with him, so you have to keep an eye out for that. Now, as far as guys you brought in or retained, we of course know. You can look at our titles here in a second. I'll show them again because they're pretty funny. Brock Purdy re-signed, extended off his rookie contract for what he's done for this team. Now, I'm going to just say this. What I have as my title is not necessarily the biggest diss in the world because Jeff Garcia was low-key pretty good for the Niners back in the early 2000s. However, I do think this is one of those contracts where the money can be moved like any other deal. I think a lot of these quarterback contracts look bad, but then they're really not that bad. A lot of the money is very fake. With the Purdy thing, ultimately for me, I think, and I'd have to go back and I'm going to revise this, and it's a little bit of a spoiler for an episode I plan to do shortly after the season starts, so that way we don't get any huge change from it. But if I was ranking quarterbacks, 1 to 32 right now, Purdy would be right around the 17, 18 mark for me. That's where I have him at. I think he does enough things well above some of the guys below him that are mostly all more talented than him, especially as throwers, that I still elevate him up ahead of some of those guys. But he's just a limited player at the end of the day. There's limited things he can do with the football. Now he's put in a position where he doesn't have to do those things that he can't do very often. The issue is the times where he does have to do them are usually the biggest moments, and he has had some issues in those big moments, especially against teams like the Ravens, who have a ton of talent in the secondary. A couple of years ago, I know they gave him fits. The Chiefs gave him a really hard time, obviously, in that Super Bowl especially. Eventually that type of stuff shows up. Now, he does a better job of avoiding those limits than really anyone else that has his limitations has done in the NFL a long time.
Yeah.
But there is an element of now you have to pay that guy instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now you're paying him tens of millions of dollars. There is an element of that with a team that is already going to have to shed salary and has already started to do so. That does just get me a little bit concerned, right? I'm not saying he's going to fall off as a player, but I do think the talent around him is going to start to shrink. And will they be able to scheme around that as well as they have in the past? I don't know. That's my Brock Purdy conversation. Definitely, Casey, I'd love to hear what you think about that move.
Yeah, and obviously I'm going to look at it through some rose-colored glasses because I'm a fan, so I'm always going to try to find that positive note on everything. I agree with you on if you put all 32 starting quarterbacks going into week one on an even playing field where it was like every team was the right one or like every team was the same. 17-18 skill-wise I think makes sense. For his situation, I personally think he's a top 10 guy in the league.
He certainly produces like that. Like that. That's the thing you have to acknowledge. And in a similar vein to like Tua, where I think Purdy's a better version of what Tua is, but I think they both produce much higher than their raw talent suggests that they would.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you have to factor that in.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of the value in a quarterback in the NFL is knowing what you're going to get and being able to get some sort of success out of that. Not necessarily getting a Super Bowl every year, but getting a guy that you can trust to get you through a whole season for a 5 to 10 year span. And that is hard to come by in the NFL. And when you get a guy like that, it's
hard to let him go.
It's hard to let him go. And I'm not saying that his career is still super young. I'm not saying he's going to be the best out there. I'm not saying he's going to be the worst out there. I just think that this is one of those things where the universe lined up for him and for the Niners, and for some reason this is going to work out for his career and for the Niners. I personally believe, and we just got lucky. That's all I can say about it. I think that I'm a full believer in Purdy just because I want him to be good, and we're already this invested into him. So I have to be at this point. I have to be.
It's fair. It's fair, and like you bring back George Kittle an extension as well.
Yeah,
his check's still around. Like again, I think the ultimate issue with the Niners at this point is not really about whether or not Purdy's a good enough quarterback for this team to go far in the playoffs, because we've seen that there's a test case for it. There's a test case for Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think isn't really any better than him as a talent, to be honest with you, because at least Purdy can move around a little bit. But I think the problem is the version of the team that Garoppolo took and that Purdy took is far more talented offensively than this unit's going to be. So
Yeah.
the question then becomes, how little talent can the Niners have and get away with while still having a quarterback that plays like this and who has the talent that Purdy has before it just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Because last year they still ranked highly in a lot of metrics. Like they weren't the same juggernaut they had been, but they weren't going to be because look who they had playing at times last year.
Yeah.
But the talent, especially if Ayuk doesn't return at full strength, if Kittle starts to fall off a little bit, it's not going to be better than last year realistically. No. You hope Pearsall is something, and I think he can be, but that's really where the question starts with this team is like for all the impressive offensive numbers they've put up with all these different quarterbacks, the talent that led to that ultimately and allowed Shanahan to do all the stuff he does is starting to dwindle, and they just haven't drafted well enough to offset that. That's really what the issue comes down to for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times with the draft is historically Shanahan and Lynch together have just crap their pants in the first few rounds, like every draft.
The third round in particular is just
Yes.
a nightmare to even look at if you're a Niners fan. Like, do not look up the Niners third round picks over the past 5 years. Don't do it.
And like Niners fans know this. Like the one that pisses me off the most is the Jake Moody pick, in the second round. Like literally, you can't go on any type of San Francisco 49ers Twitter or Instagram or any type of post without there being comments about get rid of Moody.
Yeah.
So that one, it's just, I don't know. I almost want to believe that there's something that we're not seeing with him. And I think that the Niners can have that magic with Shanahan. He's just one of those ridiculous coaches in his schemes. It's just, can he also be one of those guys that gets out of his own way at times because he can get in his head, especially when it comes crunch time. So we'll have to see. Like you said with Ayuk, he's not back till I think week 5
at the earliest. I think.
So
I expect it to be closer to the middle of the season.
Yeah,
but still.
Yeah. So I mean, that's tough. Who else on offense?
Well, right now, just to let everybody know, the healthy receivers currently on the 53-man roster include Russell Gage, Ricky Pearsall, and Sky Moore.
Yes.
And that is it currently. Now, moves will be made for week 1. Juwan Jennings may or may not be back.
Yeah.
Rookie Jordan Watkins, who we'll talk about in a second, is currently injured as well. You do have MVS waiting on the practice squad to come up. So good for you, I suppose.
Imagine he comes to San Francisco and then all of a sudden can catch the ball.
Yeah. Maybe you can bring up Robbie Chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can bring up him. No, so again, the offense is not going to be probably any more talented than it was last year. As far as other additions, Mac Jones, the backup quarterback. Kyle Shanahan finally gets Mac Jones. You love to see it. And Demarcus Robinson, who is going to be suspended for the first 3 games, I believe it is, for some off-field issues. Ross Dwelley and Luke Farrell at tight end. They love their backup tight ends. And then in the draft, the only 2 that I'm going to really note here that I think could play a role, especially this season, Jordan Watkins, the receiver out of Ole Miss, and Jordan James, the running back out of Oregon, because he's running back, which means he's going to probably have to play at some point for this team. Overall, Casey, I just kind of want to know from your perspective, do you think on offense specifically, they have done enough to keep this train rolling for another year at least before they have to kind of figure out how they're going to attack this offense more thoroughly next year?
It's hard to answer that because of injuries right now.
Right.
Without injuries, yes, I think that they can, with Ayuk, if McCaffrey can stay somewhat healthy throughout the season. I get if he has to take a week or 2 off here and there. Theoretically, I think that they could, but in all honesty, I don't know. I can't say it with confidence because injuries, if they lose one guy, it's not like other teams like the Eagles and teams like that where if they lose one guy, it's like,
They got the
oh,
depth
we
for it.
lost AJ Brown, we got Devontae Smith, or we lost
Mhm.
Devontae Smith, we got AJ Brown over here. So it's like we don't have that yet. So that's what, and I think a lot of this offense hinges on what happens with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's I think the biggest pivot point, because we know Ayuk is going to miss a lot of the season and
Yeah.
probably take a while to ramp up. You know, we that's one that's kind of a more known factor. Chris McCaffrey's been healthy this offseason. He's been healthy in training camp. I just don't know at nearing 30 years old, despite not having as many touches as he would if he was healthy. But this is a guy who already has missed a lot of time in his career for various things, with the Niners and with the Panthers. The hope is that you get another season or two out of him as at least 80 to 90% of the Christian McCaffrey that was well worth all the day 2 and day 3 picks that you gave up to go get him. But is that going to be enough with all the other issues on the offense even? I just don't know. And if that's going to be the case, the defense, and we're going to talk about them next, what they do is going to be more important than ever, because last year, again, injuries, other factors, did not have the defense that you're normally expecting with the Niners. They do lose a couple guys that I think are going to potentially be an issue that they lost. Two in particular to me, mostly because the third would have been his situation is different. We'll talk about his. And then the fourth that also I think could have been a big deal. He had a lot of injuries, and I think it makes sense that they moved on from him. But the two names that stick out to me, Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, he missed a lot of time as well, but with him and Warner together was spectacular linebacker play.
Yeah.
I mean, about as good as it gets in the last decade as a duo linebacker play, in my opinion. Like those two, when they were both on the field, healthy, phenomenal linebacker duo. So not having the ability to do that is definitely something that's going to, I think, limit this defense in some ways. And then Talanoa Hufanga, him and Greenlaw both go to the Broncos to bring that edge there and really that toughness that I think that they're missing a little bit, or they especially were on defense last year at times, despite as good as they were. Those two losses, despite the injury issues for both of them, like I think the toughness aspect of the Niners defense loses a lot by losing those two players.
Yeah, and the one that hurts me most is the Dre Greenlaw, because I loved watching him and Warner just playing in the linebacker position together. It was just dominant. The Hufanga, another guy I loved watching play but it was hard for him to stay healthy. I mean, when he was playing the last year, I can't remember if it was last year or year before that, but dude had a fucking club on his hand the whole season. So it's like, I get like he's still out there playing, but it's like, dude, when can we get you like where we have at least both your hands exposed?
Yeah, the way that he plays is just so violent that I think his body just can't always hold up to it. And I think asking him to change that would make him not as good of a player is the problem. But you do run the risk of dealing with injuries with him, and I think the Broncos are willing to take that chance. But
yeah,
the other two guys I think are definitely worth mentioning here. One is, again, his situation is a little different because the version of him that they are losing is not that big of a loss in my opinion, but the version of him that he could be had what happened to him not happened is definitely a loss, and that's Travarius Ward. Situation with him and his losing his daughter.
Yeah,
it's awful. He said, publicly, like, wasn't worried about football in those moments, which I don't blame him, between a lost Niner season and what was going on.
Yeah.
Hopefully he lands on his feet in Indianapolis. I think he will. But losing a corner of that magnitude, both last year because of that and also going into the season, does change things for the secondary for Niners as well. And then I'll throw Leonard Floyd in there as well. He's been a very good pass rusher for hire, basically, for the past couple of years. They have to figure out that edge spot. They think they may have done it with their first-round pick, but we'll get to him a little bit later. As far as the losses go, again, like some major ones for sure, but I think the biggest thing to note there, the secondary, there's some question marks there, especially the back end.
And that's always been a question mark for that Niners defense. They've relied heavily on that front seven.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how they. Yeah. Now, to kind of combat some of those things, they do bring in. I don't even know how to. Bryce Huff is a tough one for me because he was phenomenal for the Jets as a pure, just like designated pass rusher type. couldn't get it going with the Eagles of all teams, which that's the part that worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, he is going back with Saleh, who he did his best work with, obviously. Saleh doesn't know how to use him. But part of you wonders, this was a guy who didn't have any draft pedigree at all wasn't drafted. He had some splash, seasons. Was it a bit of a flash in the pan? You hope not if you're a Niners fan, because outside of Bosa, there isn't really any pass rushers on this team that you can feel any sort of good about going into 2025. You hope with some guys, but you're not sure about any of them except for Bosa. So that's kind of, I think, the biggest notable addition that they made. You do have, I guess, no, I'm not going to give them that. No, never mind. We're not going to talk about it. Bryce Huff is really the only notable addition on defense through free agency or trade. Now, in the draft, though, it's a whole different story. Michael Williams, 11th overall, edge out of Georgia. Alfred Collins, the interior defensive lineman out of Texas. Linebacker Nick Martin, who by most people's record was drafted by about 200 spots, unfortunately. But it's the Niners. Linebacker tends to go well for them. I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt there. Everyone's favorite, tiny little scrawny, but really just attacking corner, Upton Stout. CJ West, the interior defensive lineman out of Indiana. And I'll give Marquis Sigel, out of safety out of Kansas State, some love too, because assuming he can get back healthy, which I think right now he's healthy right now, actually, from what I saw. He's listed right now as you guys are starting free safety.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with the secondary. All those names up front, especially, is all about getting this unit against the run buttoned up after a disastrous run defense last year.
Yeah, and so, and like I was saying, kind of getting at when we were talking about the offense, with the key losses on our offensive line, I thought we were going to go heavy in the draft on offensive line, or at least go first, second round. We went heavy on the defense. I think we didn't go offense until round 5, maybe.
Watkins was the first.
Yeah,
so compensatory 4th round pick.
Yeah, so honestly, if we didn't have that pick, it would have been all defense until that 5th round. So, and with our safety position, Malik Mustafa's hurt. I think he's out till week 5 as well.
At least, I think.
Yeah, so he's going to be.
Right now, you're looking at Jason Pinnock and Marquez Sigel again. And Jair Brown is there, who I thought would be starting, but maybe he's not. It's tough.
Yeah, that one. But the saving grace with this is Saleh has taken a lot of these key guys that they have on their team now, like Warner, Bosa. Now, these guys obviously came into the team with a lot more talent than some of these other guys. But, getting these guys and getting them envisioned in that culture and making sure that they know what this defense is about, and he can take these guys, and I hope that Marquis Sigel could do something for us at the safety position, because we're lacking there. I mean, we have a lot of young guys. It's up for grabs. So I think for this young defense, I think Saleh's the man for it. So it doesn't worry me as much as it could. But and Michael Williams, that I'm excited, but he's also a little undersized.
So I'll give my Michael Williams spiel for a second for you, Casey, because he was a player that was routinely getting mocked around where he was taken in the draft.
Yeah.
And he, for me, was a 2nd round pick. And the reason why is he is a phenomenal run defender. He is big for an edge, 6'5", 265. He's a big body, powerful edge rusher. But right now, at least, all the tape we have of him shows very little ability to rush the passer from the get-go. Can he do it because he has the build for it and the athleticism for it? I think he can at least be a quality number 2 pass rusher one day. I don't think he's going to be one right off the bat. No. And so if Bryce Huff can't come in on passing downs and be this team's designated pass rusher in the situations, right now, if you look past Bosa and what you hope you get out of Williams, again, it's Bryce Huff, Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yeah.
And something called Sam, I'm not going to even try to say that last name, and then Robert Beal Jr. again, I don't know if this edge rush is going to be any good except for Nick Bosa, who by himself can definitely get you like a decent pass rush, right? Like
Yeah.
just having him on the field will make everyone else better, but how much better is the question, right?
Yeah.
And then in the interior, like I hope CJ West and Alfred Collins end up being the top snap getters on this team because you're talking about Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis as your top interior defensive lineman. That simply cannot continue to be the case, right? Like it's just they can't allow that to happen. The rookies have to play at some point, if not right
Yeah.
away, ideally. Again, this defense on paper, it's got, I would say right now, to be generous, four guys that I think are like bona fide starting caliber players and above.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of a question mark,
Yeah.
right? And I'm even giving you Renardo Green, who I love a lot. But he's a second year player who didn't start at all. Like he started to start a lot of games last year until the end. Again, it's tough.
Yeah. I think that this 49ers team is so up in the air right now, just overall, that like they just need to play the season and we need to see what happens because I don't know if you want to get into like what my expectations are for this
That's where we're
year.
going next. I wanted to start with you there.
So like my expectations this year is find our plan. What are we going to do? Are we going to just blow this thing up and restart? Are we going to try to look on from the coaching side, from the GM side? I love John Lynch. I love Shanahan. I love what they have done. I mean, they're not afraid to go out there and get the guy at the end of the year when they need it. I mean, they went out and tried to they got Chase Young. I mean, in that last Super Bowl run, I mean, I know that he's kind of been a little bit more solid now that he's found footing with the Saints, but like they're not afraid to go out and get that big name. So if they can just hold on, if Shanahan can figure out the first few weeks and really figure out like if he can be like if they could be 3-2 going in through these first 5 weeks, I will be a lot more confident with how this team is going and not be afraid of what's going to happen because I know that they'll make the moves. Now, will they overpay? And will they make some like rash decisions? Maybe, but my expectation is for them to find out if they're going to blow this thing up or if they're going to try to ride the wheels or ride it till the wheels fall off. Because I think they are in a Super Bowl window currently. It got opened up and it is quickly about to close. So they need to figure out what they're going to do.
I think my expectations for this team is that they focus on figuring out who can stick around in the post rookie contract Brock Purdy Niners build.
Yeah.
Like, because now that he's getting paid, they don't have the luxury of just throwing assets and money at a bunch of guys and hoping that they stick, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be more careful and more calculated with how you do things. And part of that is going to be figuring out, okay, is Ayuk worth the money that he's currently getting paid once he gets back? Like, can you see enough from him that suggests he's going to be the player he was when you signed him to that extension, right? How much more can you get out of George Kittle at this point? Does any of these younger offensive linemen stick into the plans long term? How are you going to replace Trent Williams long term? These are all questions that they need to kind of figure out as the season goes along. And also they need to figure out how many of these new defenders they brought in the draft in particular are guys that they can count on in 2026 and beyond. And that means playing guys that maybe in a normal situation you'd want to slow play because you're trying to win. They might just need to play. Right, like I think all like their three interior and edge rushers that they drafted with Williams, Collins, and West, they all have to play a lot of the snaps this year, in my opinion. You just have to see what you have in them. So it's an interesting team. Let's get into the win total range. I'll start first. I want to give you a chance to think about this one for a second because boy, I'm not even sure myself. Yeah. I think they could be just as bad as they were last year. I think it's possible just because of the situation with injuries they're already starting with and just so many new pieces to kind of fold through. So I think 6 is the floor for this team. Mm-hmm. They could win 12 games, Casey. Like they could. Like it's very possible in an NFC that is good but not great. As this version of the Niners could still win like 12 games. I think so. Like if McCaffrey's healthy, if they hit all the green lights, like Purdy's still as good as he was the past couple of years. If McCaffrey is healthy most of the season, if Ayuk hits the ground running when he comes back, like all this stuff happens, sure, like they can win 12 games and get into the divisional / like championship conversation. But that's again the high end outcome, and the fact there's a 6-win difference between my floor and ceiling is because of how many things we don't know about this team.
Yeah. And I will say my ceiling is the same. I think this could be a 12-win team if everything falls their way, or if they just buckle down and they know that shit's going to suck, but they adapt to it. Last year, they kind of rolled over. I hate to say that because you hate to see your team roll over in a season, but they rolled over last year.
They had reason to. I'm not going
They
to lie.
had reason to. I mean,
true.
I mean, if they did make it to the playoffs, they wouldn't have done anything. I'm not going to say that they would have went to the Super Bowl or anything, but it still just sucks, especially how early it happened in the season. So I'm going to say high-end 12 wins. It's hard to get past 12 wins in the NFL, no matter who you are. I don't care if we're talking about the Eagles right now. It's hard to get to that 13 mark.
Yeah.
So I think they could get 12. Low end, honestly, for them, I think is 8 wins. This team, I think, I don't even want to say this, but like it's going to be hard to look at last year, and with a lot of guys returning as far as Purdy, Warner, Kittle, Ayuk. I'm sure Ayuk's tired of hearing all the discourse online, especially since he's not starting the season until and hopefully week 5.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they'll will this team to at least 8 wins. And with Shanahan coaches, solid, brings tons of energy on that sideline. 8 wins, 12 wins. Hopefully they win the NFC West, but we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. So let's get into our next team here. We're going to talk about the Cardinals, who finished 8-9. Again, finished ahead of the Niners, incredibly so. But they're a team that I think is one of the tougher ones to really nail down at this point. As far as coaching staff changes, nothing that I'm considering notable here. They did lose their offensive line coach, which he's done a great job with that group. So, maybe something there. But same guys who've been kind of part of this rebuild the past few years are still here. Head coach Jonathan Gannon, of course, the chief among them. Offensive moves with the Cardinals. It's an interesting group, to say the least. Last year was, I think, for a lot of people, it started off strong. However, it ultimately didn't really go the way that they thought it would, right? Like, especially when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr., that whole situation is what really kind of hurt them, I think, the most, like not knowing how to utilize him as best they could. A lot of people are kind of too early, I think, on saying he's not going to be a good player or anything like that, or he's going to be a true number 1 wide receiver. But when you look at some of the other production from even rookie receivers, right, like it's fair to be a little bit underwhelmed. But I think the tape on him is good still. I think the bigger problem is him and Kyler Murray need to get together and like work this out, because there's too many times where he wasn't in the right place, or maybe Murray wasn't thrown in the right spot. Like they just couldn't quite get on the same page outside of a couple of big performances, especially early on. They really just didn't get it going until later in the season. So it's tough, because with a team like this, their biggest problem theoretically should be the defense, and it has been the defense because they had almost no talent on it. Now they add a bunch of talent to it, but now it's like, okay, is the offense going to look like it did last year? Because if it does, it probably doesn't matter if the defense is better, right? Like it just doesn't matter. You have to kind of figure out how you're going to make this offense look the way that it should, and so far it just hasn't done that.
It's been a 45-yard scramble for Kyler Murray, and maybe sometimes the guy's open downfield.
Right. Like, that's just not enough. It isn't, right? Like, some of your moves, you bring in Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be apparently the slot receiver.
Yeah, it was a key offensive ad for them this year.
Like, I'm like, what? You signed Trey McBride to extension. Good, you need to.
Yeah, that's another guy. Like Michael Parsons should never leave. Like, you should never even think about letting a guy like that go.
right? And they didn't, luckily, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
good.
what I'm saying. Like,
Right,
I'm
but
glad
like
they.
you know what I'm saying though, like it's like that's good that you did that, but
Yeah,
like that's definitely the most notable thing you did offensively. A lot of what this team did, and like for good reason, right? They focused on the defense because they just haven't had literally any talent basically at all in this defense for a while. Outside of like Buda Baker, I think the safeties in general are pretty good.
yeah,
Like outside of that, it's been really kind of tough sledding. So they add a lot on defense, right? So offensively, I would say like for the most part, a lot of what they're trying to do is the same, right? Like they're trying to roll it back and try to hope that it's going to be a better version of it with Murray hopefully more comfortable with playing with Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson still this other team's receiver outside. Zay Jones, I guess, this slot receiver. I hope it's Greg Dortch because Greg Dortch is fun. That's what I'll say about
yeah.
that. But the offensive line is still mostly in place. Like they didn't lose a ton, but they didn't gain much either on offense. Is kind of my problem with it.
Yeah, and the offense, like, also Jacoby Brissett. Can't forget about Jacoby Brissett.
Better backup, I guess, but like
Yeah,
also, yeah, you hope he doesn't play. So what do I do?
yeah.
With that? You know, like
So yeah, I think that, and I think a big thing with the Cardinals that's always held them back was their defense. Like, and the offensive play. I just, it's something like they're right there in that conference or in that division to where it's like they needed. I love the Dalvin Tomlinson pickup on
yes.
defense. Like, sorry, I know, I'm kind of moving on here, but like,
well, honestly though, we kind of can't because again, the offense, not a lot
not
of
much.
happen there. So like, I think it's fair that we can start talking about some of the moves this team made on defense because picking up Dalvin Tomlinson, signing Josh Sweat to big deal as an edge rusher, a real edge rusher for this team, which they haven't.
Yeah.
I would say they haven't had a dude who I actually think is an edge rusher, especially to start the season because they did bring in Baron Browning, but even he was like an off-ball linebacker before he became an edge rusher too. So like a true like actual full-size edge rusher, I don't remember the last time they had one. Honestly, like I can't remember. So bringing in Josh Sweat's huge, right? They bring in Dalvin Tomlinson. We'll talk about the draft here in a second. They bring back Calais Campbell for like a retirement run, I think, which is sick because he can still play too. Is the thing. Like so, this isn't even like one of those like he can come play. Like no, he can still play. He was really good last year.
Yeah.
Like they bring Baron Browning back again. They traded for him, and he was one of their better pass rushers down the stretch. Like they do all this stuff, and then you go to the draft, and I mean it's basically just defense, and guys that like. Admittedly, you're hoping Walter Nolan can get back healthy. He's banged up right now, but Will Johnson is looking as good as people thought he could be. And the knee injury, at least, or the knee issues right now, I'm not showing up. So you hope that keeps happening. Jordan Birch, a guy that I wasn't really sure what to do with, his preseason highlights, dude, he looks like a freak because he's like 290 pounds and he can convert speed to power. Like it's scary.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's going to work like necessarily in the NFL, but he certainly worked in the preseason, so that's exciting. Cody Simon, I don't know. Denzel Burke, kind of same, I don't know. But again, just there's one offensive player drafted, and it's Hayden Connor, the guard out of Texas, in like 211. This team knew going into the draft, like, hey, our offense may need to be tweaked a little bit. We need to work stuff out. This defense cannot look like this again. It simply can't, and it's not going to. Right, like this depth chart is vastly different than it was last year. So you got to give them credit for that. But again, like I think my question ultimately for you, Casey, is someone who's seen this team and seen the issues and tribulations they've gone through, trials, tribulations. Do you think that this version of the Cardinals, with a workable defensive roster, with considering what Gannon's been able to do with non-workable, in my opinion, defensive rosters, do you think this team can actually make that leap back into playoff contention now that they've added this with the defense?
Yeah, I mean, this like I said, this has been a huge step up for them this year because with the Cardinals, you see them play and it's like, they put up 25 to 30 points in a game, but it's like they're also giving up 30 to 40 points in a game. So it's like this it's always it's kind of like watching baseball where it's like you watch a guy go out there for the first time, you're like, we're either going to see an amazing game or you never know what you're going to get. This guy's going to get shelled. And that's the thing with the Cardinals. Like, their offense can go out there and have this amazing game and pitch it perfectly, but then their defense just gives it up. So if this defense, they tried to make the moves, they're investing young into this defense. They took a flyer on a few guys. The Denzel Burke one, I don't understand that too much because
you're an Ohio State fan, so you can say
that.
The fifth. That's fine, whatever.
Yeah, like at the beginning of his career at Ohio State, like that was, I could see this being like an amazing pickup. But he just kind of fell off. But if they can stay healthy, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think the Cardinals have one of the better chances of winning this division. And if this defense is the real deal, Jonathan Gannon came in. I thought this dude was a dweeb and
certainly looked like it.
Yeah, but he's figuring something out. Like, it's not there yet, but like he's figuring it out. It all depends on this defense. If this defense stays healthy, if it produces like it can on paper, watch out. The Cardinals are going to be one to reckon with. That Super Bowl contention, no, I don't think. Playoff, could they make it interesting? Yes. If Marvin Harrison can get back going on offense, especially, or get him going at least. I really hasn't even got going to begin with. So I'm excited. I hate to say it, but I am excited to see what the Cardinals do. They're a team that kind of stayed in the dark a little bit. We're like, we're going to make the moves. We're not going to do anything flashy. If we have a guy that's upset about something, we're going to cut it off, and we're either going to make the signing or we're going to get rid of them. We're going to make the signings in the positions that we haven't been that good at in the past 5-10 seasons. So I congratulate their GM and that front office, because I think they've done a great job this offseason.
Yeah, this was a team that, not that long ago, a lot of people were like, is Kyler Murray going to get traded? Are they going to be the worst team in the NFL? Like, Josh Dobbs started the season opener for this team 2 years ago. Like, it's just, again, like there's been a lot of moves that have happened, a lot of changes to what this team has looked like. And I think ultimately for me, what I'm wondering, and I think this is kind of what Cardinals fans are wondering as well, is realistically, can this team, instead of just being like the fun underdog, like, oh, they're going to be competitive at the end of the season version of themselves, is the defensive improvements, one, going to happen and work fast enough to get them off the ground? But then is Gannon going to be able to turn this from like a scrappy defense that performs better than it should to a top 10 defense as early as this year? Because that's the ceiling for me. I think that's where you have, if you can get them up into that territory, then you're really talking about a team that's going to be not just a team that makes the playoffs, but a tough out in the playoffs probably too. Because if you give Kyler Murray a little bit of pressure off of him, because I think that's been the problem with him the past couple of years, is like he's had good offenses that he's taken into the playoffs, and he just knows that the defense isn't going to hold up, right? Like that was something that happened to him early in his career, and now that he's a little bit older, should be a little bit more prepared for those situations. If you give him a defense, maybe he can do something with it. Let's talk expectations for this team. I think the expectation should be to make the playoffs, just straight up. I think it's time for this unit and this group to make the playoffs. If they don't have a better season this year, that's when, even though Gannon has progressively gotten this thing going better and better each year, you start already talking about, like, is he going to be the guy to get them all the way there, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be the guy that just raises the floor back up to like an acceptable level, or can he be a guy that can also kind of take the top off the ceiling of this team as well? That's really what my expectations are for them, is to at least show that they could be a playoff team in 2025.
Yeah, I wish I could show you my notes right here. I literally said the same thing. Make the playoffs. They're on a rocket ship right now. They're going to have to keep their bearings. Things are starting to take off. Like, it might not be this year, but next year could be the real, like, exploding point. It's just, can they keep their bearings this year? There's going to be some rough spots, but there's going to be tons of high spots for them if they can do that. But yeah, make the playoffs. I don't expect Super Bowl this year, but I could see them getting into the second round.
to get a favorable wild card matchup.
Yeah,
Could happen.
so
In
we'll
the
see.
NFC, that's very possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, that again, that's my as far as expectations goes. It's pretty simple with a team like the Cardinals. Like you've been progressing up to this point, you have to get over that hump of making the playoffs. And honestly, I'd probably prefer them to look pretty good doing so as well. Like in that playoff matchup, whatever it may be. So what win total range? I think this is an 8-win team at the floor. I think they aren't going to be a worse team than they were last year. I just don't think so. I think the defense is so much more talented that it's really kind of hard to imagine them really bottoming out in any way. And I think Kyler Murray, despite some of his faults, is a good enough quarterback that he's probably not going to tank this offense into the ground. Also have to shout out James Conner, maybe the most underrated running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Although you could also make an argument for another running back in this division because of the way that he's talked about sometimes. We'll get to him later. At the end of the day, this offense should be good enough. Like if it's just a top half league offense, which it should be able to be with the talent that they have, and the defense can take that next step up, I think 8 is just too – going any lower than 8 just feels wrong. And I think I'll put 11 wins. I don't think this is like that true like double-digit win team, like comfortably type of team yet. But I do think 11 wins and at least competing for this division is certainly in the cards for this team this year. In the cards. What do you got, Casey?
Yeah, I my floor for them is 9 wins.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think that this is they were kind of finding it last year towards the end of the season. I mean, honestly, throughout the whole season. So I think 9 wins for this team. At 10, 11, I think is their ceiling. Honestly, I think this you're gonna get what you get with this Cardinals team. I don't think there's gonna be much variation. Like I think this is like one of those things that I can just feel this happening. This whole season is just gonna be 9 to 10 or 11 wins. Like it's just they're gonna have their great games and they're gonna have the games that they should have won and they just didn't. So we'll see.
All right, let's move on to maybe the most interesting team to talk about, I think, in this exercise because they didn't really I don't think they tried to rebuild, but they also didn't try to go for it. Seattle's just weird right now for me. That's the best way I can really describe it. It's strange. Now, let's start with the coaching staff changes for this team because the main one and the only one that's really of note is Ryan Grubb after one season of weird results is the best way I'll describe it for the offense. The offensive line in particular just was so horrendous for this group, especially in the middle. Kind of derailed any success on offense they could have had in a lot of ways. But he's gone. In comes Clint Kubiak, who famously had the Saints scoring 48 points a game to start the season last year. Then everyone died, and he just couldn't really do anything at that point. He, I think, is a really good hire for what he's trying to do. Bring in Sam Darnold at quarterback. We're going to talk about that in a second as well with the move off of Geno Smith, which I'll just be honest with you, not a fan of doing that. I just can't get there, but we'll talk about it. Coaching staff change-wise, though, bringing in a Kubiak is usually good so far in the NFL. Someone of that tree, which is, the Shanahan / McVay / Kubiak / whoever the hell you want to say, tree at this point. It's usually a pretty good move, most of the time. I think Kubiak can continue to have success with a team that hopefully is healthier than the Saints were last year, would be pretty much anyone. So we'll see. Yeah. Talking about offensive moves, though, the first one we have to spend some time on, obviously, is the decision to make 2 very key trades for this team. One of which I really vehemently disagree with, and one of which I can live with. Unfortunately, I'm involved in it as a Steelers fan, so I also kind of can't live with it. We'll talk about it. Geno Smith is the big one, though. Moving on from the quarterback that replaced Russell Wilson and promptly whooped his butt in the first game that he had against him, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
Started it all from that point. Has been a borderline top 10 quarterback, even with some of the issues last year in the NFL since he took over as a starter for the Seahawks. And that is something that if you would have told me in 2020, I'd have been like, Geno Smith still plays?
Yeah.
So good for him. No matter what happens in Las Vegas, he has absolutely rectified any issue that anyone ever had with him as a quarterback at this point, in my mind. One of the most fun guys to watch to the football. He just doesn't give a shit about anything. Mm-hmm. He's going to throw that football. And there's part of me that's like, I don't know about that. And the other part of me is like, that was sick as hell. So I have to respect it. There's another quarterback that also plays like that we're going to talk about next. But we'll get to him a little bit. Hopefully he's still healthy by the time that conversation rolls around. No. The move for Geno Smith to trade him to the Las Vegas Raiders, I don't believe in it I'll give you really two main reasons. One, clearly the issue last year was not Geno Smith at quarterback. I'm sorry. You just cannot point to me on tape and say like, well, yeah, all these red zone turnovers. He was not working with an offensive line that was NFL caliber. I'm sorry. The fact that he even put up the numbers he did put up is kind of insane to me. Like, it just is. When he was kept clean, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year. The problem was he never was. Like, so what are you supposed to do with that, right? Like, I don't really know. So there's that. The second thing is that this team, if you inserted Geno Smith at quarterback right now instead of Sam Darnold, would you not feel really good about it? Like, would you not feel like, okay, like we can do something with this. Like, we can make the playoffs. I don't know if I feel that way about Sam Darnold. I just simply don't. And that's the first big off, like the addition, right? Bringing Sam Darnold on like a fake 3-year or whatever amount of years it was deal, like $30 million a year. It doesn't move me, Casey.
No, and like the Sam Darnold thing, it's like I get that. It's almost like these past, ever since Sam Darnold. Sorry, I know I just got kind of like flustered. No, when he went to the Niners, I'm not saying that when he went to the Niners, all of a sudden he was some like star caliber quarterback. But like something weird happened where all of a sudden like
we're back on the Sam Darnold train.
Yeah, like the NFL community is like he's a top 15 guy. Anyone would be lucky to have him. He's the best backup in the league. Like he could start on half the teams, and it was like I didn't see where it's coming from. Now, did his play last year? Like, yeah, like the Vikings record was great in the regular season. I'm not saying that, but it's like how much of that was the defense for the Vikings? How much of that was Justin Jefferson? How much of that was like it wasn't just Sam Darnold? So like I don't get, like, I'm not saying that Sam Darnold's going to be a bust or anything, but like I don't see where we're getting this concrete proof that Sam Darnold's going to be your guy for the next few years. I don't understand it when you could have had a guy that, in my mind, like I know Geno Smith like is athletically superior than Sam Darnold and just his QB skill and everything, I would say, but like I also think in the NFL, they're kind of similar guys almost where like
they both want to throw that long ball.
Yeah, like,
they want to throw the ball down the field. The problem is one of them's done it really well for 3 straight years. One of them did it really well for like 15 games.
Yeah. And like you already know what you're getting with Geno Smith, so why didn't you just keep him? You just brought in a guy that's Geno Smith but doesn't have as much experience. Like
it's very odd to me because you look at the Vikings last year and like you can sit there and say whatever you want about Sam Darnold, how explosive the passing game was, all this stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Sam Darnold wasn't a top 10-ish quarterback last year.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
the problem is, and I'm going to be just fully transparent about this. If Sam Darnold played for the Seahawks last year, he wouldn't be in football anymore. I think they would have been like, yeah, we're done with Sam Darnold. We're good. Because he would have been slaughtered by the offensive line play. It just wouldn't have worked, right? And the Vikings, guess what? When they got banged up on the offensive line, look what happened to Sam Darnold. And again, most guys in the NFL, I hate to break it to people who like think they're guys this or that. I'd say like 60% of quarterbacks starting in the NFL right now, if they played behind the Seahawks offensive line last year, would simply cease to exist like halfway through the year. Because they wouldn't be able to handle the type of interior pressure in particular that the Seahawks were letting through. But Geno is a veteran among veterans. Like he is one of the older quarterbacks starting in the NFL right now, which is crazy to me to think about, but it is true. He knows how to deal with those types of things, right? Sam has never learned that. Like he's never been able to manage the pressure well enough and like not make the critical mistake, the interception, the sack, the whatever it is. And it came back to bite them in the Rams game, in particular in the playoffs. Like they just were not able to do anything about that front that was very explosive, right? Now in Seattle, they did make some changes to the interior offensive line, in particular with their first-round pick, and I like that.
Yeah.
Do I feel confident that they're going to be anything better than like the 24th best offensive line, especially in the middle? Not really. And I don't think that's good enough to make Sam Darnold work. Like Clint Kubiak's going to have to coach his ass off for this quarterback situation to not look like a mistake in year one, in my opinion. So that's the biggest thing with the Seahawks offense, I think. And then obviously the DK Metcalf trade. Okay, let's talk about it. So for my Steelers end, on the Steelers end of things, as a Steelers fan, if you can't tell, I understand that they wanted to find another receiver. The problem is that DK, in my opinion, is somewhere between 25 and 35 in terms of receivers in the league overall.
Yeah.
That's where I have him personally. Some people will have him much higher than that because he's big, strong, fast. You love it. The problem is he's a big and strong receiver who plays like a small and fast receiver. That's never going to work for me as just personally. He is a deep threat. He is a run after catch threat. He is not a contested catch threat. He's not going to win you tough catches. He's not going to come down with those gotta have it plays. He does not do that well and hasn't done it well for quite some time. Why that is? There's a couple reasons I could think of, but it's just weird still to watch him not be good at those things. So you trade him away. You bring in Cooper Kupp, who could not be more different than DK Metcalf. And to be fair, I think that it has a chance to work. But him and JSN in the same receiving group is weird to me. Just going to say that. Not saying they're identical players by any means, but I think they work the best in the same parts of the field. So we'll see how that works out. Guess Sam Darnold's going to have to learn how to throw in the middle of the field 75 times, a game. It feels like it. And then the rest of it is like, what? I don't really know. Like this depth chart is very strange to me at receiver in particular because if you look at it, there's obviously
I can't
those
wait
two
for you
guys.
to read this off.
Like
because
there's
I already know the names.
Well, like again, you're looking at Jackson Smith and Jigba is the left receiver, is like one of the outside receivers right now because Cooper Kupp is on this team. Torrey Horton, who I did think was a good player, but he's a 5th round pick. We'll see. Jake Bobo.
Yep.
Love Jake Bobo, but he's Jake Bobo we're talking about. Is like the 4th receiver right now. Derek Young, who's DK Metcalf if DK Metcalf wasn't good, and then Cody White. Who's playing actual outside receiver for this team? Is it Torrey Horton as rookie? I guess, but why are we doing this? What is? And then again, Sam Darnold's here, Gray Zabel. You bring in some of the stuff I like, right? You hope Abraham Lucas is back full time. He's had a hard time staying healthy. I don't know. What am I supposed to feel about this?
Bad.
If I was a Seahawks fan, I'd feel bad right now on offense at least.
Yeah, even with Geno, he had that edge to him. Even if with that wide receiver room, I would feel more comfortable with Geno. I know it comes back to it, but that wide receiver room is hurting. Now I love JSN. I love JSN, but that offense has so many more problems on it and question marks that need to be figured out before he can be a productive guy. Kind of like Marvin Harrison Jr. almost. There was a lot of questions and a lot of holes that need to be filled. Hopefully the Seahawks can figure that out because he's just going to rot away on that depth chart.
He's a good player. Why is Cooper Kupp on this team? Why did you sign an over 30 receiver who can't stay healthy and also plays in the same part of the field that your explosive second-year receiver played last year, and now you're hoping he can be the number one? I just simply don't get that.
And it's the mentality of you just took recycled crap from the Rams, basically.
Yeah, trading DK, I kind of get because he wanted a lot of money. He got a lot of money from the Steelers, Jesus, and then. So you don't have to do that, but you don't have to go sign Cooper Kupp to be the replacement for him. That doesn't make any sense, guys. This isn't even really about Cooper Kupp because I think if he's healthy, he's still a good player. He doesn't need to be on this team, right? I hate to say this to even especially for Rams fans, because I think they'd be more mad about this than if it was the Seahawks like it was. But would he not make more sense on the Niners right now than the Seahawks?
It definitely would.
Because I know that him and Juwan Johnson both do the power slot thing, but completely different skill sets overall still. It's just that would make more sense to me if he was going to stay in the division. The Seahawks, though, I just don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the Niners have it all figured out because they definitely have a lot of question marks, but it's that offense is more susceptible to bringing in a guy like Cooper Kupp. this is a start at the wall. See what happens. Hopefully, we can sell 5,000 more jerseys. It feels
like Tyler Lockett is out of here, which like I get it because like he's
Yeah.
at 33 or whatever. But like honestly, this receiver room would make more sense if he was in it. Honestly, to me,
it takes a lot of pressure off that offense with him in it.
It just like is it just I feel like he'd at least still be a guy you could throw the ball to downfield even though he's older. I just like who's catching one of these Sam Darnold like post routes right now? Is JSN gonna are they gonna ask him to do that? Because I'm not saying he can't do it at all, but like, it's not really what he's supposed to be doing.
Like I think
Torrey Horton, is that what we're banking on this year? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. The Seahawks, if you guys can't tell, kind of upset me right now a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, so those are some of the losses that you deal with.
Cool rivalries uniform though.
Yeah, theirs is
back to the uniforms. The helmets are sick. I love that color.
Yeah, there's probably the best. Yeah, I would say. But again, like Noah Fant's gone, by the way.
Yeah,
I guess because you drafted, not that he's a huge impact, but like you drafted Elijah Arroyo. He's interesting. I don't think he could probably play right now. Like, is AJ Barner your top tight end? This offense is strange to me. Let's just leave it at that. So, those are some of the major offensive moves. Now, obviously, we need to talk about the draft pick a little bit more because Gray Zabel in particular and Elijah Arroyo, both top 50 picks, both figure to help out the offense in some way, shape, or form, especially Zabel. I think he's going to be a really good interior player. Wherever he ultimately has a home in the NFL long term, I think he'll be a good player. And then Arroyo, we talked about. I just don't know with him. Like, when I watched him, I'm like, this doesn't feel like repeatable in the NFL. Something about it just didn't click for me. Like, he's a fast player in a straight line. I don't think he's particularly fluid. And I just wonder if he's going to be like this true, like, 50, 60, 70 catch receiving tight end of the NFL. Or is he going to be more of like a big play threat on the play action stuff, but then not much else, right? Yeah. That's kind of the concern for me. And then this might be the most fun one for sure. Jalen Milroe joins this team.
I was just about to say that.
And I'll be honest with you, he shouldn't play this year, but I sure hope he can play next year. That's all I'm going to say. Because if this is going to work out, if they're going to be able to do this Geno Smith for Sam Darnold thing, if they just wanted to tread water this year because they don't want to be terrible, because this defense is too good, I think, to be terrible. I think that they really didn't want to completely waste a year with this defense the way it's constructed. I get wanting to save money to then have more stuff to work with going into 2026 and beyond. But I really hope for their sake that Milroe ends up being too good to pass up on being the starter next year. They don't have to take one in the first round because it would really save them a lot of trouble if that can happen. I think taking him in the third round was definitely a worthwhile gamble.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that one because well, not as a Niners fan because it's going to piss me off if
he's good, yeah.
Yeah, because he's just another guy kind of like Kyler Murray, where he's going to be able to use his feet to get where he needs to go. And maybe it's a good thing that Geno Smith isn't there, and hopefully they can get rid of Sam Darnold because I honestly wouldn't want my hopefully future quarterback learning from those two guys. But at the moment, I would have rather had Geno Smith, so it all comes back to that. I would have rather Jalen Milroe sit behind Geno Smith than Sam Darnold at this point because Sam Darnold needs to sit behind someone still.
Potentially.
So, yeah, that is the most exciting pick for me for them just because this could be their future and not many people are talking about it.
Not many. I mean, I get it. He's a third-round pick. These guys really don't work out. Milroe's kind of one of those like ones that you still have to pay attention to because of just the immense physical talent that he possesses, right?
Yeah.
They also bring in Torrey Horton. We talked about he might be their outside receiver this year, like one of them at least. Robbie Oots, tight end Alabama, good for him. He's definitely more of a fullback blocking type. Bryce Cabledew, who at this point I honestly should have double checked, but I'm not even sure if he's still on the roster. I've wanted to double check that because I know Damian Martinez, their 7th round pick, is not, which I've found very interesting. I wonder if that's more about the person and not the player because I thought he was honestly like a 3rd round pick level player, but we'll see.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I didn't look into why he was released. I thought the same thing.
They keep George Holani instead, who is All right. He had a good preseason, but probably not as talented as Damian Martinez, I would assume. But
Yeah.
we'll see. Um, let's talk about the defense more now because this is the part of the team that I could definitely get with. This is definitely more interesting to me as far as what they can do this season coming up in particular. So as far as defense go, they do have some losses here. They do get rid of Draymond Jones for Robertson Harris. Travis Gibson's been a kind of good like fourth or fifth edge for a while. They lose those guys. Rayshawn Jenkins, who played a good bit for this team, is gone as well. As far as additions go, though, they do bring in, excuse me, Demarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys. Hey, another Cowboys edge mentioned.
Yeah.
That's the big fish, definitely in free agency. But draft pick wise, Nicky Manwari, who I struggled with as a prospect because I think that he has so much physical talent that it's hard not to draft him early. But also, I don't think he plays to his size right now as like a run defender in particular. And I wonder if that's going to keep him kind of off the field early on, honestly. But I do like the idea. I think what Mike McDonald, the coach here, is trying to do is to find his Kyle Hamilton, that like
Yeah.
slot safety hybrid. And I think he's as good as you're going to get in terms of the style of it. So there is that. But really, as far as why I'm excited about this defense, it's less to do with what they've done to kind of upgrade it, but more so what they look like down the stretch and how good they could be in the full season and coming up in this year.
Yeah, and I love the DeMarcus Lawrence pickup for them. I love the re-signing of Jaron Reed for them.
That too, yeah.
So I mean, defense isn't like something that I'm ever really concerned about. The Seahawks, they're another team. NFC, well, I'm not even gonna say that. Seattle, a team that if there's one thing you can count on for them is having at least a decent defense. Offense can be skep at times, but the defense is always pretty sure of himself. Shout out Legion of Boom. But yeah, so the defense, if there's anything that this team needs to rely on this year, it is this defense because there's going to be a lot of headaches on offense where this defense is going to have to go out a lot more than it needs to. The depth, I didn't look too much into the injuries this year for the Seahawks going into on defense. I don't know if you did.
Well, Jonathan Hankins is one.
Yeah.
Christian Haynes on offense is on IR, as is Steven Sims, Kenny McIntosh, the running back. So not a ton of notable ones, I would say.
Yeah.
The biggest one would be Christian Haynes for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's this defense is going to be the spotlight for this year for them. See what they can do.
They're just they have so many bodies on the defensive line. Like Leonard Williams was phenomenal last year. Byron Murphy showed flashes. I think he's going to be a good player. Again, you already talked about Jaron Reed, DeMarcus Lawrence, Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu. I mean, they're just names over like not anybody that I think is like a bona fide star, especially.
Yeah.
But they're going to go 2 or 3 deep at every like defensive line position, edge rusher, interior, you name it. And that means a lot in it against teams that a lot of teams don't have that, right? Like look at my Steelers right now. We got 4 edge rushers period on the roster. We always do that. I'm like, oh, that's good. Just have TJ Watt play a billion snaps every year until he dies. Great. I'm not trying to make it a Steelers episode, but you get my point.
No, yeah, I get it.
And like Ernest Jones really came into his own, the linebacker for this team last year. Once he kind of flopped all over the place, it felt like Rams, Titans, Seahawks ultimately. Tyrese Knight's a fun player. He's we'll see what he looks like as the linebacker next to him. The secondary is mostly something I'm excited about. I will say Josh Jobe being the left cornerback right now. Not sure how I feel about that. But if they need to, they can kind of break glass in case of emergency and play Devin Witherspoon back on the outside with Reek Woolen, who, again, not much – you can't get much better in terms of, like, athlete and instincts than those two combined. And then Kobe Bryant came into his own as a free safety last year, and Julian Love has been really good since coming over for the Giants. Like, this is just a defense that you look at it, and I don't really know if they have a true weakness other than maybe that other outside corner spot if Jobe can't hold it down.
Yeah, and, I mean – what was sorry. I had the guy pulled up. Anyways, I don't have the guy's name pulled up. But, I mean, with this defensive line especially, I think you see a lot of success in the NFL when you can, like you said, they have a lot of bodies when you can get a lot of guys that are above, like not even average, but just a little bit above average, like they don't have to be great, but if you can get 5 to 7 guys that are above average, I would rather have that all day than having your 1-star guy and then trying to budget cut at your other positions on the defensive line. So defensive line always looking great. Like you said, defense is going to be the key for this one.
Yeah, and again, they're a team that, despite like having some issues early on with McDonald there on the defense, even as good of a defensive coach as he is, they finished top half in the league in both passing and rushing DVOA and EPA per play in particular, which with defense, I care about those types of stats more because it tells you like cumulatively like how good they were at stopping the run and pass. Very good defense last year. I think a much better one this year if everyone can be healthy. So that's going to be the key for this team. And as far as expectations, if Geno was on this team right now, starting quarterback, and either DK Metcalf or someone other than Cooper Kupp was the other receiver next to JSN, this team would not only have playoff aspirations, but I think they should be expecting to win a playoff game this year. With everything they've done, I kind of have to knock the expectations down a little bit. I think this season is all about finding out what you have in some of the new offensive pieces and seeing if this defense is truly like a top 10 or even top 5 unit that you can then throw a bunch of resources at the offense to help bring them up to the level. And then you maybe can go take on, playoff run and try to win a couple playoff games. So that's kind of where I have to be with this team, unfortunately, this year.
Yeah, I mean, get out of my head on that one because I had exactly what I had to say on that one. If they would have had a similar roster to last year as far as keeping Geno, things like that, playoffs for sure for this team. It just would be nothing else would be on the table for them now. What it is currently, they have to find out, can this defense be for real? Because if this defense is for real, it is still young defense, then they can build around their offense. They know they need to focus and spend their money there. You need to find out your quarterback situation. Sam Darnold is not the future, in my opinion. Jalen Milroe, hopefully can be your future, but how's he going to learn to play quarterback? So figure out if this defense is going to be around and be able to stay solid for you and something that you not have to put on the back burner but not have to worry about, and then hammer it on offense. They have to find their identity, get back to what the Seahawks were like during the Russell Wilson era.
That's what you're kind of hoping to be able to replicate with this. And also with a defense that is hopefully going to be the strongest part of the team, right? Because that's the same thing that those Seahawks teams had. Let's talk about win total range for this team. I think they could be low-key kind of bad. Like, I think that's possible. I still think, I think the floor is about the same as this Niners team that we talked about earlier in terms of, they could have a 6-win season. I think it's possible. Like, if this offense is not good and the defense suffers a little bit for it, this defense isn't so overly talented that they're just going to overcome, a really bad offense, putting them in bad positions all the time. So if that does end up being the case for this offense, which – I'd still say that's unlikely that they're that bad, but it's possible. They could win only 6 games in an NFC that's not that strong, right? Now, as far as win total range on the other side of things, I don't know if I can give them more than 9. I really don't. I don't think they could be a better team than last year in all aspects, given the changes they've made on the offense. I think the ceiling has just kind of been brought down on this team a little bit. How good they could be in 2026 and beyond is a different story. I think that's fair to ask. This season coming up, though, I think they did not play for the upside. I think they are just trying to figure out kind of who they are.
Yeah. I said the floor for them is 5 wins.
That's fair.
Kind of like the Niners last year. The defense had to be out on the field more than it should be, and the defense suffered from that, and you could see towards the end of the year, or kind of after week 7, that it was just going to be downhill from there. I think it's going to be similar for the Seahawks this year. They might look okay for the first few weeks, and then week 4 or 5 is going to hit, and you're going to be like, hold on, are the Seahawks bad? And then the defense is going to get overworked, and then by week 8, It's going to be another. We're going to see Monday morning when SportsCenter rolls on. It's going to be a disheveled like Sam Darnold with his hands on his helmet as an pick
He's
six
seeing
is going
ghosts
on,
again, guys.
and we're
He's
like,
seeing
"What's
ghosts.
going on with the 2-6 Seahawks?" Like, that's unfortunately what I see happening. I'm not saying that as a Niners fan because I hate the Seahawks, but it's like that's just as a football fan.
It's one of the outcomes that's possible.
Yes, yeah, like as a football fan, that's just realistically what I see happening here.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Let's move on to the LA Rams, the reigning champion of this division after a huge late season run last year when they were just awful the first like 6 weeks of the season. Then they turned it on the back half of the season. So nothing on the coaching staff that's notable here. McVay keeps his coordinators for the first time in a while, feels like.
Yeah.
At least, for the same guys back-to-back years for – I don't remember last time that would have happened. But so they keep their staff in place. As far as offensive moves into the offseason, there's one in particular that we're going to need to talk about, I would say. Really two moves technically, but one move that led to the other, so it kind of works in tandem. We have to talk about the Cooper Kupp for Devontae Adams swap, basically.
Yeah.
That's what they did. For the Rams, I love it because as much as Cooper Kupp, I would have loved to see him end his career at the Rams because of just what he did, especially that Triple Crown season, all that good stuff. Great player. Devontae Adams is just a better football player at this point in 2025. And specifically, he's a better fit next to who's going to now be the Cooper Kupp all the time, Puka Nacua. Yeah. They just work together better from a skill set perspective than what Kupp and Nacua did last year. Now, they were able to make that work because they're both really good players. But similarly to what I think the issue is going to be in Seattle, they did too many of the same things well. And, that's great to have two receivers who are as good as those two are. But if you can have two receivers who are really good and they also complement each other, that's better, frankly. And I think that's what the Rams are trying to do with Devontae Adams, and I think that's going to work out in their favor.
Yeah, and the Cooper Kupp, I mean, you got what you needed out of him. He got his ring. It was time to move on from that. Devontae Adams, another guy that has a few good years in him left still. Now, I like the pickup for him, but who's playing football or who's playing quarterback for them? There was a rumor last week that Matthew Stafford was dead and his clone was walking around as him. Man,
the clone have a bad back too? That's terrible.
Yeah.
No.
Who's playing quarterback for this team? I understand if Matthew Stafford will, if he's healthy, I get it. I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't get the hype thinking that Matthew Stafford isn't as old as he is. And injuries, I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
So for me, I understand the concern with Stafford because he feels like he's been banged up since he was with the Lions, right?
Yeah.
And it's because he has been. However, the thing that you can say that you could say about him as well, at least in my opinion, and most people I feel this way, is when he's on the field and when he's playing, he is at worst the sixth quarterback in the NFL on the field. Yeah. That's where I have him. Now, the problem is, again, are you going to get that version of Matthew Stafford this late in his career and coming off of seemingly some sort of back thing that's keeping him held out of training camp and practices and stuff? He seems to be okay. They're saying he's going to be able to play, and that's great. Is he going to be there in week 12? That's really the bigger question here. Because if he's not, you go to Jimmy Garoppolo, who you know very well, Casey, is the absolute bottom of the barrel. If your offense is really good, he'll run it for you and be okay quarterback. That's who Jimmy Garoppolo is. If your offense is bad, you're going to have a hard time with Jimmy Garoppolo. Luckily for them, their offense is good, but he's not going to give them what Stafford brings them, right? So that is what this team see, and we'll talk about later with the win total range. They have one of the wilder potential outcomes as well because of the quarterback situation. But I'm going to assume until told otherwise that he is going to be able to play. And if he's going to be able to play, this offense probably is going to be a top 3 offense in the NFL. That's just what's going to happen with a healthy Matthew Stafford. Because you look at the rest of these guys, right? And the Devontae Adams of it all is obviously huge. That's a big deal. They also go out and add Coleman Shelton to be their center again, who I think is a much better fit for them. They re-sign Alaric Jackson to a 3-year contract. He's banged up right now, but he seems to be on pace to be ready early on. Tutu Atwell returns, who he's one of the weirdest guys in the NFL where, like, when he was drafted as early as he was, I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. And he's just kind of hanging around. Now he's productive for them. Like, the Rams just
He
do
works
shit like
for
that.
the Rams.
Yeah, they just make it work, and he's been good for them. So he comes back on a deal. Like, again, like, they're kind of doing this thing where they're saying, all right, we know what our offense is. Let's just keep kind of chipping away at the defense, adding guys here and there. Let's look for upside on offense. We'll talk about their drafts, which I think they played very well, because I think there's a chance that they're going to be looking at who their future quarterback is next year, and they're going to have 2 first-round picks to do it because of what they did in the draft. But overall, this offense, like, the biggest move is Devontae Adams, by and large. Like, that's the biggest thing, right? Now, is that going to be enough of an upgrade over what they were getting out of Cooper Kupp? And is Devontae Adams going to still be the same player he was? Because with the Jets, he had his moments, but he didn't look particularly spry at times either. But maybe that's just what playing for the Jets will do to you.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that the Rams have a roster that can like compete with a quarterback like discrepancy, I guess you could say, lack of a better words at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what we're going to get here with Matthew Stafford. Like I said, is he dead? Is this his clone coming in?
Yeah, if the clone has good back, I'm still good with it.
Yeah. Like you said, Devontae Adams getting up there in age. Like, I don't know. The offense, all in all, is going to be good. Is Stetson Bennett their QB2?
It is
Or
Garoppolo right now.
Is it
Garoppolo
Garoppolo?
is QB2, and Stetson Bennett is the QB3 right now.
Okay. So, I don't know. I don't – and next year's draft, I don't want to get into it too much, but, like, I don't know if there's a guy in that draft that – I mean, besides Arch, but –
Arch isn't coming out, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I just found out he's getting paid like $7 million this year. Why would you come out if you can make $7 million not playing for a bad NFL team?
Yeah,
you know?
So
that's just me.
But I don't know. I don't know if there's a guy that out of next year that you want to like go all in on.
There's some guys that I already got my eye on that's going to be probably top 10 picks. Now, again, are the Rams going to be able to, even with 2 first-round picks, move up to get the guy they want specifically? I don't know. But it feels like that's what they're trying to gear towards, right? To be able to say, okay, Matt, we'll see what you look like next year, but we're drafting a quarterback to get ready. And I'm sure he's going to be okay with that because that man deserves to rest whenever he chooses to. So I'm going to say about that.
Do you think they're kicking themselves in the head for not keeping Baker Mayfield when they had him?
No, because I don't think Baker would as good as he's been for the Bucks.
You don't think he would have been the Baker?
He'd still be really good because it's the Rams, but I think he's not better than Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and so I think that's a hindsight's 2020 type of deal.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Though, like he still wouldn't be playing because Matthew Stafford would be playing, and then if you trade Stafford, you're not going to be as good as you are with Stafford when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying to go for a Super Bowl. I don't know if Baker on this team instead of Stafford, like they'd still be a really good playoff team. I don't know if they're really competing for a Super Bowl in that situation. So, yeah, but it is fair because he'd be younger and cheaper and more, definitely healthier as well. So. But again, like the offense, really, it's all about that Devontae Adams move for me. You do bring in Terrence Ferguson, who I was a big fan of, but probably not as early as they took him is the only thing. Now, granted, they traded back. They got the first-round pick next year. There's that aspect of it. So it's kind of easy to just kind of excuse that away a little bit. Then they bring in as well Jarquez Hunter, now their third running back because Kyren Williams and Blake Corum are both still there. Kyren Williams, that's the other one I said. If James Conner's not the most underrated running back in the NFL, it's Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
Those are the two where I'm like, because neither of them are fast, neither of them are explosive, but they're damn good at what they do. Yeah. Like, that's just kind of what it comes down to for those guys. Another name I have to shout out because he made the team, Kanata Mumpfield out of Pitt. Very interesting 7th-round addition. And he feels like a Rams receiver, to be fair. Like, I wasn't surprised that he made the team, but – offensively, we know what this team is about. It's really about the defense for this team is how much better can it be after an explosive pass rush developed last year. The year after they get rid of, Aaron Donald they don't get rid of him, but they lose Aaron Donald to retirement. Suddenly they're still able to rush the passer because they draft Jared Verse. He's a freak. They draft like Braden Fisk, who I think is still like just okay, but he's so athletic that when they run stunts with him, no one can stay with him. So he gets production that way. Like they really just kind of scheme this thing up. And they add Josiah Stewart at edge rusher, who I love. Like I think he's going to be a really good edge rusher for them, an upgrade over Byron Young sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Like this defense, as long as it can just kind of take another step forward of being like maybe like the 18th best defense in the NFL, mostly driven by that pass rush. That's how this Rams team really starts to put pressure on teams like the Eagles and the Packers now that we'll talk about. Teams like that, like that's how they get into that conversation again next year.
Yeah, and I think was it Puna Ford they signed him?
Yes, that's the big free agent
Yeah.
addition that I would want to point to.
Yeah.
Puna Ford. He gives them even better. Like Bobby Brown, I thought was a good nose tackle for them last year. Now with the Panthers, Puna Ford is truly immovable in the middle of the defense. Like he is just a block of granite that is dropped onto the field on running downs, and you just have to avoid him as best you can. Like that's pretty much what he does. So like,
yeah, and that's my biggest takeaway with this team's defense going to be good. I think that's going to be the overall trend with this conference this next year, or with this division.
How good are these defenses?
Yeah, how good can the defense be? I mean, obviously, like I said, the Cardinals are going to pick it up, see if the defense really is good. Rams defense we know is going to be pretty solid.
With that pass rush,
yeah, Seahawks should be pretty solid. Niners possibly could be solid. Like this is going to be a defensive league. There's a lot of question marks on offense a lot of question marks at quarterback, a lot of question marks at wide receiver, like for this whole division. So we'll see. But yeah, I love the Puna Ford pickup. Defense obviously is a staple for this team. I don't know. Did they?
What's up?
I'm trying to see if they their injury report here.
Right now, the only one that's notable, or there really isn't any notable ones currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see about Matthew Stafford, but if he's healthy, there's no one else really to worry about there.
I thought there was someone on defense that I could be looking at. I was looking at something else maybe, but yeah. So just staying healthy on this team on defense. It's defense wins championships in this league, it seems. So we'll see what happens.
They need to at least be good. I think the thing is, Jared Verse might already be a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL after his rookie season. Like he is the definition of I don't care that whether I can get past you or not, I'm going to go through you first anyway. It doesn't matter. He is just pure speed to power every time, and a lot of tackles just simply can't deal with it. And there's a reason why Teron Armstead, if you saw that clip of him saying he's the reason why I'm not playing anymore because I can't handle dudes like that. There's a reason he said that, because if you look at the tape, not many guys with power to the extent that Jared Verse won with power last year. That's kind of the basis of everything. The front four really, especially I would say the four best guys on that defensive line now, with Fisk, Ford, Kobe Turner, and Verse. You throw Byron Young in there, Byron Young. I think Josiah Stewart will overtake him sooner rather than later. Just way more juice as a pass rusher and better actual winner against tackles.
Yeah.
That five, if those five guys are good, the back end, you look at the depth chart. Darius Williams is still here, 32 years old, however old he is. Ahkello Witherspoon, same deal. It's a rough unit, but I do like the safeties, especially Kinchins. I think he has upside. Quentin Lake's a good nickelback. It's just not as good in the back end of the defense, and the linebackers. Don't get me started about the linebackers, dude. Nate Landman can defend the run, can't do freaking anything else. No. Sean Dolac better start for this team real soon. He should have been a third-round pick, in my opinion. Goes undrafted, makes the team. Put that man on the field. He can cover and make plays. Please.
I'm sure he will play a lot this year. I think that this defense is set up for that.
I hope so, because don't get me started with Omar Spades. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Let's not do it. No offense to Omar Spades, but again, this Rams team, they should be on a trajectory to, if assuming Matthew Stafford's healthy, they have to win this division. They very easily could have beat the Eagles last year in the playoffs. Like that was certainly something that could have happened in that game. They have to keep that momentum going because if they don't, everything they've kind of done over the past 2 or 3 years to keep this window open with Stafford is kind of all for naught because I don't think they're getting a better chance after this year to do this. So they have to kind of hit on this, and that's my expectation for them. They have to make it to at least the conference championship game. Like if they don't make it to the conference championship, I think this is a season that no one's going to be happy about for the Rams, right? Like you have to continue to show that you are a team when healthy with Matthew Stafford that can compete for and potentially win a Super Bowl. You have to get to the conference title game to be able to say you did that. So that's my expectation for them.
I'm taking it one step further. It's Super Bowl or bust for me for the Rams. Just because and it all is contingent on Stafford. If Stafford is healthy and he is the quarterback that is your majority quarterback throughout the whole season, if he's hurt a week or two throughout the season, I get it. But
that's one thing.
If he's your majority quarterback for that whole season, I honestly think this is the last season you're going to get a Matthew Stafford where you can get to a Super Bowl. And if you don't get it here, it's over. Like you said, they've built up a lot in these past couple of seasons since that Super Bowl because when they won the Super Bowl, everyone thought the Rams were just going to disappear because they got rid of so much draft capital.
Yeah, the F them pick strategy didn't work out for a year or so, but then they started saying, yes, we'll take those picks.
Yeah, so they quickly learned from their mistake on that one, but it was just like it's this year or not, and if I could see getting to the Super Bowl, getting to the conference championship could feel good, but I don't know. It's just one of the things where it's like it almost feels like that old veteran where it's like, this is their last season. And you're like, man, I hope that this guy wins one because it'd be good. He's a good guy, but it's like
I wish I could say that with my team, but I don't feel that way about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's a
guy. He
already has one though, so
he does. Cares? Stafford does too, to be fair.
He does, but I'm just saying, like that's what this kind of feels like for like this team. Like he's getting this is the last hurrah, in my opinion. Maybe a little biased as a Niners fan, hoping that this happens, but I think this is their last hurrah. Like it's either now or never, in my opinion. Like I said, you never know what drafting a quarterback. Like obviously, it's never guaranteed, but I don't see anyone next year that can come in immediately and
probably not keep this going at least. Right?
Yes,
like, even if he becomes what they need him to be, it might take a couple years to get back to that level. So
they're going to have to pick a guy off of free agency or trade for a quarterback, in my opinion, if they want to keep this going.
To keep it going, yeah. I think ultimately for this team, and we'll talk about it here, they have one of two paths that I think are most likely. And this falls in with win total range, but it's also just like the two versions of this team I think exist. There's the one on the low end that is a better version of the 2022 regular season team that just Stafford got hurt. There was nothing going on. Baker Mayfield had to freaking play snaps for them, as we talked about earlier. Like in the middle of like being there for like 48 hours or however little time it was, like it just
I forgot about how weird that was.
Yeah, a whole weird situation because like Wolford was starting, but then his neck was hurt. I don't know, it was a whole weird thing.
Yeah,
very much like a movie scene type of deal. Very fun, but weird. It could be a better version of that where they win like 7 or 8 games and Stafford plays some of the year, but then Garoppolo has to come in and he gets Devontae Adams depleted because he can't stop throwing hospital balls to him in particular for some reason. Like that happens, and then you're just kind of middling throughout the year. The pass rush and the defense is better than that team's was, so that's why it looks better. But it still is 7 or 8 win team, and then I think 12 is like it's tough in the NFC for me to pick more than 12 for anyone except for the Eagles. Honestly, I think for them I picked 13, but like this Rams team, if they just can avoid the start they had last year where they were like 1-4 or whatever it was, first 5 games, they probably would have won 12 games last year, right? And I think this team is capable of being just as good, if not better, than that team was last year. So I have to put their total at 12 for the high end there.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I said 8 on the low end. Defense just too good to let them get manhandled the whole season if the defense just completely or the offense completely fell apart. I'm saying 12 wins. I can't say less than 12 because I think they are a favor for this division. And I already said 12 for the Niners, so it'd be stupid if I said less than that. like you said, it's hard to go past 12 in the NFL. I don't care who the hell it is you're talking about. I don't know if they can get past 12, but 12, I would not be shocked at all if they had 12 at the end. Also 8 if the quarterback situation just completely goes down the drain.
Yeah, and I think that's what really with the Rams for every year they've had Stafford is what version of Stafford do they get, the healthy one or the one that's banged up, right? Like that's kind of what it comes down to. So no surprises there. But that'll do it for the NFC West. Thank you very much, Casey, for coming on to talk about your Niners. I tried not to be mean as much as I could.
No, I get it. I get it. I have tons of questions for this team too. Like obviously, I'm super excited because it's a new season. You want your team to do well, but
gotta keep that spark alive until it's taken away from you.
Yeah, until week 8, where you're like, all right, this team sucks.
I'm gonna believe Aaron Rodgers is still good until he's not, and then that'll probably be like week 3. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then you move on. You're like, who's the young quarterback or who's the guy that?
Well, guess what? I get to watch frickin' Mason Rudolph if that happens.
Yeah.
So good for me. No, we'll talk about the AFC North here soon. But tomorrow, hopefully, as long as we can get our resident Raiders fans, Jake and Dalton on, we'll be talking about the AFC West, who currently houses the AFC's kind of, boogeyman right now. We always have one in the AFC. It was the Patriots, now it's the Chiefs. We know who it is. We'll talk about their outlook and everything like that tomorrow, but that'll do it for us tonight. And